Welcome to the Inside Out Money Podcast.
Can't even recognize this place. Too many pieces of our past mistakes.
Hi, I'm Maggie, and I believe real change starts from the inside out. So let's work together to improve our money and our lives from the inside out. We will explore all things money and our relationship with it. Join me each week with a rotating set of co-hosts, friends, and interviews. Let's jump in.
It's time, we going round and round and round and round and round.
When you called me earlier, I was eating some mashed potatoes, and I was telling Greg, I was like, these are so fucking good. I feel like I had like just some like really heart. It was just really good. I've been eating like soup and smoothies for a day and a half.
Soup and smoothies?
Soup and smoothies, yeah.
Soup and smoothies.
Stop making fun of me, Erica.
I would never.
Okay. So, yeah, I think we just, get in here. I want to start, and I'm going to mention that, like, this was your idea and what you were thinking of when you thought of this.
I don't remember that. Was this something I threw to you?
Yeah, you wrote it down. Yeah.
Was it something that I threw to you in, like, a whole bunch of ideas?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. I must have been drunk.
Those are the best ideas.
Mm-hmm. The ones you don't remember.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Our goal here, though, we are going to make this a 40-minute episode. I know we can do it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start. And I'm going to ask you about your braces and you tell me about the teeth on teeth. Okay.
Okay. Hey, Erica.
Hey, Maggie. How you doing?
I'm doing good. The listeners just missed like a solid 5 minutes of hilarity from the two of us. That included me taking my shirt off. You're welcome, Erica.
Yeah, thank you.
You called me out.
That was the hilarious part.
Right away, you called me out and were like, you're not wearing tie-dye. I wasn't sure if you would notice. I noticed right as I was coming to record, and I was like, oh, I should change. And then I was like, I'm going to see if Erica notices. And you didn't. So when you did, I took my shirt off right away. And then I went to go get a tie-dye shirt, which only took me a second because I always get a tie-dye shirt nearby. So I'm now wearing a tie-dye shirt. End of story. Not that exciting to people listening.
But thank you for recapping it for everybody, because now they're
welcome.
Like, oof. Thank goodness we didn't miss out on those 5 minutes of just pure joy of that story.
Thank goodness Maggie gave us a recap.
Yeah, but what we
don't need to talk about the rest, Erica. Let's just move on to the topic of today's episode.
Okay, but I do want to say, I would like to also welcome your braces, your mouth braces to the podcast.
Thank you. They have
adult mouth braces.
They have a strong presence. They're sort of like a third person here with us. They certainly contain the amount of food that a third person might. Like every time I'm done with a meal lately, I'm like, oh, turns out there was a whole nother meal stuck in my braces.
Yep. Yeah. No, my 12-year-old feelings are coming back for you of when I first got mouth braces, but they were tween mouth braces then. So, it's different.
It's a lot different. One of my kids has already been through braces. One of my kids, I'm sharing in the experience with her right now, except she has what I would call normal braces. These are what I would call abnormal braces. They're a little bit larger. They stick out further. They don't have fun colored rubber bands.
Yeah, they are. I see what you're saying. And I think they look fine. Now that you say it, however, they do look a little cartoonish, like maybe you're someone's prank, some orthodontist prank.
Well, if this was a prank, I would just like to say it's incredibly mean. And like, I prefer a quicker, I love a good prank, don't get me wrong, but I just prefer something that didn't involve like gluing something to my teeth for 2 years. I like a more like short-term, undoable prank.
Right. Not like braces where the brackets are larger than your actual teeth.
Yeah. I mean, they are larger than my actual teeth. I appreciate you saying that. I was just telling Erica, like all the people, it's like, I appreciate both sides of it. Like, I appreciate the people who are like, oh, they look fine. And a few people have been like, I didn't even notice. And I'm like, fuck you, you're lying. You definitely noticed.
They're definitely lying.
Or you're blind. And I told Erica, a friend of mine, one of our kids had a sleepover, and her daughter, who has braces right now too, has seen me before. And when I was like, oh, hey, Ryan. And I smile and I was like, I got braces too. And she was like, gave me a look that was like, when I flashed my smile, where she was like, what the? And I was like, Ryan, I appreciate the sincere, honest response, because that's the response I expect from people. And
Well, I was going to say, and like, good on you, because a lot of people would take offense to that. But you're like, no, you're looking for the wholehearted, honest, fearful response from a kid. And there's nothing more
From a
honest than that.
12-year-old, yeah. And I
Yeah.
can't quite get an honest response from Greg. I mean, he's being like, he's
Well,
kind of towing the line, like when you're like,
He's in a
"Oh."
lose-lose position. Let's be honest.
Yeah, right. I will say multiple times I've made like this face, like, and I tried to like go in and kiss him, and he like backs away
Yeah.
from me like I'm an animal.
Yeah, you're like kind of your own, you're like a horror film. And also you were just talking about the amount of meals in your teeth. So
Oh, yeah,
like
that's
he
kinda
has
gross,
to
too.
look at that.
He's
So
probably like, yeah, have you water flossed lately?
yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be like a checklist before any relations in our household for, I'm going to go with 2 years.
Yeah.
'Cause
That
that's how long
sounds
the braces are staying.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm excited to talk about this topic today because as you informed me, which I promptly did not remember, I brought up this topic, which is out of sight, out of mind spending. And it's such an important topic that it immediately went out of my mind when I suggested it to you.
Literally like I came back with a couple ideas that were your ideas and was like, which one do you want to do this week? And you have like no recollection. And then I like remind you and you're like, yeah, no, I don't.
I remember the other one, and oddly, I chose not to pick that one.
Right. We'll do that one soon since you remember it. What I thought was interesting about this is even though you didn't remember that you suggested it, your initial response, like when I said, what if we do out of sight, out of mind spending? Like, what do you think of when you hear of out of sight, out of mind spending?
So I guess I thought of it, and this is making me wonder, like, A, how many glasses of wine I had when I was texting you, and how many wine clubs did I join right after I talked about out of sight, out of mind. So what out of sight, out of mind spending, I think it has two things that it can mean. One could be set it and forget it, kind of like automatic expenses where you know they're part of your monthly expenses that you allocate as part of your budget. Or out of sight, out of mind spending, which is not being mindful about how you spend your money.
Erica, what's interesting about that is there's not like a right or wrong answer of what out of sight, out of mind spending is. I just think what's interesting about it, by the way, do I sound different? I think I have like a lisp. I think I have a brace list. By the way,
a little bit, but you'll get
no
used to it.
disrespect to anyone who has braces or has a lisp or has any sort of speech impediment or anything. I'm just getting used to like a whole nother set of teeth inside my face along with my regular teeth. It's a lot.
Yeah. This is a change.
And I've decided I'm a more vain person than I thought I was. So this is an interesting exercise to go through.
This is a real growth experience for you.
It is.
I'm happy to guide you through it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like physically and emotionally a growth experience. Like my mouth has grown in size and I will emotionally grow through this.
And you just say you tell me when to cool it on the adult mouth braces jokes.
Oh, jokes. Okay. I thought you meant, yeah. Like I may never say when. So keep them coming.
Okay. I'll get them. They'll be more creative as we go through your
Thanks.
2 years.
So
I'm going to get you rubber bands for your birthday. Spoiler alert.
oh, thank you. With some gummy bears, which I can't eat.
Well, then no.
Okay. What I think is interesting is that there's no right or wrong answer of what out of sight, out of mind spending is. But I think what you initially were thinking, which I seem to know better than you from you not remembering this, was all of these little things that like might be automated and might add up and like, oh, you don't really realize you now have 4 streaming services turned on and do you really need all of them at once? And they're out of sight and out of mind because they're auto billed to your credit card every month and you don't really notice them. And I think that's interesting. And to me, that's originally what I was thinking you were talking about. And what I would agree is a bunch of out of sight, out of mind spending. But as I was thinking about it more, to me, I was starting to realize like all of your expenses, of many people's expenses, could be considered out of sight, out of mind spending if you are not tracking and reviewing your expenses. Because to me, there is something about like when I laugh, when I spread my mouth open wide, I have to like readjust my lips over them to get them back in my mouth. There's some like one of the most beneficial things you can do to change your, I can't even get these words out because Erica keeps like grinning and smiling and she's laughing at like what's happening with my mouth on screen right now.
I can just tell that you're trying so hard to just speak, and it's like a whole new thing for you. And I'm not laughing at you. I'm going back to my 12-year-old self.
Yeah.
Like I remember being in the cafeteria and having to go to school after getting my braces.
Yeah. Yes. If I had known you when we were 12 too, I would have made so much fun of you for that. I'm just kidding. What's funny is the kids don't even care about getting braces now. I used to think it was like a big deal. I never got them when I was a kid.
It's cool to get them.
Everybody wants them. And I'm like, why do you want braces? They're expensive. Can't I just put like $6,000 in your college fund instead? That'd be better for everyone. Anyways, back to the topic. I think one of the number one things you can do to improve your financial situation yourself, and then also like the communication with your partner, is to track and review your expenses on a regular basis. And so what I think is so interesting about the out of sight, out of mind discussion and the positioning of what spending is kind of out of sight, out of mind is I actually believe all people's spending is out of sight, out of mind when they aren't doing a thoughtful review, and not all the time. And I've equated this, and I know Liz and I talked about this in an episode about the easiest way to get rich and thin was the title. I often equate this to people who track their calories, right? I don't necessarily think like there's people tracking your calories can be really helpful if you don't realize all the stuff you're eating and how many calories are in salad dressings and different sauces and oils and different things. And I hope people don't need to or want to track their calories all the time. It can be super tedious, but there are times where like doing it for a few months can be incredibly enlightening and can help you to change your habits and have the discipline to change some of your habits. And I feel the same way about tracking your expenses. And so to me, just back to this out of sight, out of mind, it's all out of sight, out of mind if you are not thoughtfully tracking your expenses. And Erica, I know I do it differently than you. Like we track stuff through Mint and then we put stuff into a spreadsheet and we kind of do stuff differently. But even the way you do it, I still think is a version of it that's a little bit less formal, but that totally captures the spirit of it. What do you do?
Yeah. So you said a version, but I do have an aversion to spreadsheets. And so the landlord keeps a huge spreadsheet of our expenses. I pay the bills. And so I download, our monthly spending and send it to him to do God knows what with. And so when I see our credit cards, I'm like, okay, well, here are monthly things. Here are the things I know we've budgeted for, but there are other things where I think going back to what you said about the calorie tracking and budget tracking, it all comes down to an awareness. And that's where the out of sight, out of mind comes in, is sometimes we just aren't even aware of how we're spending our money. It kind of goes back to like, is it worth the money that you're about to spend on something? And sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it. Like I do have a lot of streaming services. And yes, I do share logins with people, although, Netflix recently cracked down. So it's like, well, how many streaming services does one person need? Anyone could argue that. But there are other things that you just don't think about. Yeah. So I think it's one of those things where, we set up so many automatic payments, you don't get the bills. You just know they come. And then if you have them in all in one credit card, which is what I try to do, so I can see this is where everything is, to know, oh, I've got Amazon Prime, I've got Hulu, I've got Disney, I've got Netflix. Like that's a lot of streaming.
Yeah.
But I see them all in one place and I can tally, okay, this is how much they are. And it may or may not be worth it to me. But sometimes it's hard because you can put things on multiple credit cards and then you have like no idea. It's just like, well, that's a number here, that's a number there. And then you don't really conceptualize it in the big picture of like all of that adds up.
Yeah.
So an example is years ago, I paid for the New York Times crossword app and I use it like most times, but not as much as I used to. And it's like $3.50 a month.
You're really good at crossword puzzles. The mini, like we were in a shared social account. I would do the mini and I'd be like really excited when I get it under a minute. And it would be like, Erica's today, 12 seconds. And I'm like, it took me 12 seconds just to read the questions. And Erica's already put the words in.
You know what's funny? Because like I can barely get past Mondays, like on the real crossword puzzle, where like I have friends like, oh yeah, I get to Thursday, maybe Saturday. I'm like, I am lucky to get through Monday. So I really appreciate you giving me the credit for the minis because I'll take it.
But back to the point, you were paying $350 to do.
I'm paying like $350. So it's like, that's nothing, but it all adds up. And how much do I use it? But I also look at it as like, well, then I have to like go on the chat feature or send an email to cancel it. So one thing that I try to do is if I try to go in and get a new account or streaming service or something where I might forget to cancel it, or it's going to feel like more of a hassle to cancel it, I just won't do it. I have to look at like, what is my time and energy to even decide if I want to spend money on it. And I think you recently had an example of that, like with a free trial of Showtime that you forgot to cancel.
Oh, I got so mad at it. Yeah. I like wanted to binge watch the new season of The Real L Word. I can't talk now. I wanted to binge watch the new season. It wasn't even new. It was from like a year or two ago, but it was like the remake of The L Word. And so I was like, I'm going to do Showtime for 1 month. And it was like $8.99. I was like, and I'm going to binge watch it and like knock out. Like I watched like 2 or 3 seasons very efficiently. And then I forgot to cancel it. I swear I thought I canceled it. And Greg's going through the expenses. And he's like, I thought you canceled Showtime like months ago. And then I like got on him and I was like, well, how have you been seeing this come through every month? And you didn't tell me. And he's like, I don't know. I just thought you were like still using it. And I was like, no, I finished that show in like February. I only needed it for 1 month, and I got billed for like 4 more months. And I actually wrote up Amazon chat, like I, typed up to the Amazon chat person.
Because you had Showtime through Amazon?
Yeah, I had it through my Amazon Prime account. And the guy was like really, I don't know if it was a guy or girl, whoever was like super helpful. And they were like, yeah, I'm sorry, we can't. And I just said, I swore I canceled this 3 months ago. Like, I don't know what happened. And I was like, you can see in my account, I have not watched this in 3 months. I watched one show and then I stopped. And I was like, I didn't even really ask for anything yet. I just was like, and then they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. That must be really frustrating. And I was like, oh yeah, we're going to leave it at that probably. And then they were like, we have a policy. We cannot reimburse digital downloads. And I was like, well, that's a legit policy. I can see why you wouldn't reimburse that kind of stuff. Cause I can't like send it back to you. And then they saw my braces and they were like, never mind. We'll give you your money. I'm just kidding. No, but then he was like, but this one time I'll give you back 3 months of it. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
That's not the point of today's episode, but actually I guess it is, because as you're unwinding some of these out of sight, out of mind expenses, just remember it cannot hurt to go back and ask for things. So we'll talk about some examples of some different out of sight, out of mind things. But one of them that I'll mention because it's related to this point here is like different kind of charges, like ATM fees, bank overdraft fees, bank account fees. Like all of a sudden, when I quit working, I didn't have as big of a balance in my checking account. And I was in some sort of checking account that required a certain balance for it to be free, which I didn't even fully like remember, understand. And they started charging me because I didn't have enough money in my account to meet this minimum. And so I called them and I was like, hey, I didn't, I quit working and didn't, realize or know this. And they went back and like removed, I didn't notice it for a few months. They went back and removed a few months of things for me, of charges. And so one thing I would always say is like, do not be afraid to go back to customer service. It cannot hurt to ask, and just be nice. You don't need to be a jerk about it. You don't need just be nice and honest and be like, I screwed up. I've accidentally not paid new credit cards because I'm so used to my credit cards being on auto pay that when I started doing travel hacking, I would forget. I was like, oh, I thought they were just all automatically on auto pay, which they are not, by the way. I knew they're not, but I just kind of forgot. And I'd go back and just be like, look, I totally forgot. I've had other cards with you guys for years. I just didn't think about how this new one wasn't going to be set up unless I set it up. And 99% of the time, these companies will remove these different kind of charge overdraft, not necessarily overdraft, but bank fees. And so I just would say, try to set a reminder for when stuff cancels, short term, a free month of something or something like that. But often I forget and I go back to customer service and I nicely, apologize and ask if they would be willing to give me a refund. And it works almost all the time. And
you have to imagine too, when these companies offer these free promos, get 30 days free, they're counting on you forgetting to cancel it. Yeah. And they probably are also not counting on people taking the time to call and say, oh my gosh, I forgot to pay this card or I forgot to cancel it. And so they probably have that built into, you would probably understand this way more than I do, but they probably have that built into their whole model of offering these promos, because how many people actually cancel after the first year of a credit card, the first month of a free streaming service? Yeah,
you're exactly right. They build that into their model. They hope and assume that many people won't cancel. That's why they're often offering an introductory offer. And for the people who do come back and ask for refund, most people won't. They'll just eat the cost and be like, oh, my bad. But for the people who do, they also, on the flip side, train their customer service to try to keep people happy. And if you're nice about it, they often do have the permission, even at the first level of customer support, to give you a refund on that. And so again, it's why I also like to do business with larger reputable companies often, because it's definitely a lot easier to, just kind of have them fix something for you and help you out with a mistake. So were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to ask you a question actually, because you said you have your credit cards automated, your credit card monthly payments automated. I find that interesting. Do you ever do you also track your expenses within your automatic payments? How do you reconcile spending and just okay, now it's paid for?
Well, so all of my credit cards are on auto pay out of my savings account, which is now a combined checking and savings through Wealthfront, because that's where I keep a larger amount of money. So I'm never going to get overdrafted because I've kind of got, it's basically my emergency fund, but I'm also earning high yield interest on it, 5.5% right now through Wealthfront. And then all of my actual charges on the credit cards are synced up through Mint. And then we get, one report that we can pull with all of our cards and accounts. So we have, Venmo, PayPal, all of our credit cards. Greg has some individual credit cards. I've got, every time we kind of get a new card, we've got to, for travel hacking purposes, we've got to sync it up. And so all of our expenses are coming across many different credit cards because we have we use a Target card there. We use an Amazon Visa for Amazon. And so we have a small arsenal of various cards we're using for point hacking purposes. And that all comes through Mint. And then I open my Amex or Chase apps every now and then, and I know the bills are always paid. And then every now and then with a new card, I forget to set it up on auto pay. And I get like a late fee, and then I realize it, and it's the first month. So usually the first time you screw something up, they're happy to fix it for you. If you kept doing it every single month, they track that and flag it in the system. But I'm not a repeat offender with the same company. Once I mess up with one company, I've like moved on, and I've now go mess up with somebody
you try
else.
to go mess up with somebody else. Yeah, that makes
exactly.
sense. That's good hacking to me.
Yeah. So let's go through some of these different types of out of sight, out of mind expenses. But I think the spirit of this is, for some people, everything could be out of sight, out of mind if you are not tracking your expenses and reviewing them in some way. Like some of these examples I gave, I honestly don't review my expenses every month anymore. I'll do it. Greg and I will sit down and do it every few months, which is why 4 months went by and I hadn't realized that I'm still getting charged for Showtime. But again, A, that's better than not doing it all, even if you do it quarterly. And B, you can still go back 3 months later and get refunded and fix some of this stuff if there is a mistake, and or you can stop the bleeding at that point so that you're not getting charged in the future. What's funny about that Showtime thing, Erica, too, is as soon as Greg said I was still getting charged, I like went into the Showtime app and I was like, oh, there's some really good shows I should watch. And then once I dealt with Amazon customer service, he immediately shut off my service. And I was like, oh, I was going to watch some shows.
Can you just get Greg to sign up now?
I'll turn it back on someday. Well, speaking of that, subscriptions and memberships are a big category of this. And like you said, Erica, you've got a number of streaming services on right now. And we do too. Like that's what made Greg bring it up as we were talking about how many streaming services we have going on. We typically try to only have a couple at once, and we'll swing things back on. Like we'll put on Showtime for a couple months, and then we'll binge watch something that we want to watch on Showtime, and then we'll do like HBO. We don't have them all running all the time because you can only watch so much TV at once. And so I like
what you think.
Yeah, I know. When we early retired, I really pushed the limit of how much TV was possible at first. But it is, my approach on that is to just try to kind of moderation, right? Like not do them all at once. And so I think there is just a big question of like, are you using all these things that add up, like subscriptions, memberships, the Panera Sip Club, Uber One, different DoorDash memberships, things like that. Do you need them? You can go into the Apple Store and you can actually check what subscriptions you have. I can put a link in the show notes to a little article that shows you how to check your Apple subscriptions. Do you know you can do that really easily?
I've done it on my own, which was interesting because I went through, I'm kind of veering us off, but I went through and there are some things where I'm like, I'm going to turn off the auto renew because I think in the moment when it's like, do you want to renew this? Will be like, yeah, sure. But right now, I don't think that this is a worthwhile thing for me to auto renew. And so if they tell me you might renew this is canceling, I might flip the switch again, but I turned it off. So I didn't just fall in the habit of just, oh yeah, sure, whatever, renew it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can go into any apps you have that might charge a monthly fee. Those are good examples of kind of out of sight, out of mind things. Also is you can very easily go in through your Apple account. You go into the settings, you click on your name, you tap subscriptions, and then it will show you all of the subscriptions that you currently have, and you can cancel them right there. And then there's also these apps that I've been targeted for a few times, and there's one that I've definitely seen ads for. I can't think of the name of it, but another one I just found is called Rocket Money. And it's one that kind of goes through your expenses for you and helps pull out subscriptions specifically. And so I'm not, they exist. They're perhaps helpful to some people. I'm a little bit more of a fan of like old school DIY of just go look at your credit card statement, go look at, use something like Mint for look at all your expenses, not just those. An app like Rocket Money can help you. And there's a few others that are targeted specifically towards helping you to find and be more cognizant of all the things you're subscribing to.
Yeah, that sounds good. Cause I think like there's a camp of people like you and Greg who, geek out over your spreadsheets, constantly check. And that's just, I think like, I don't know for sure, but I imagine like you're in a small camp and then the rest of everybody else is just like, I just try to be aware and kind of know what's going on. And so having like the app exists for a reason for people like me who are like, oh, I didn't realize I have like 6 streaming services.
Yeah, that's true. And I think you give Greg and I too much credit because we're usually, we usually catch this stuff like 3, 4, 5, 6 months later. So we're tracking it, but we're just we're not on top of it every month. It's not like our biggest priority, but we always catch stuff. So I do like doing it. Every time we do it, we're like, we should do this more often in a little bit more of a timely manner.
Actually, I did have a moment where I wasn't tracking my expenses so much, but like going through and as I send the landlord our monthly expenses in a spreadsheet, I'll go through and I started seeing all these like Venmo transaction fees that were like $10 each. And it was like, if you do something like about person to person versus like Venmoing
Yeah,
an
business.
organization, a business. And so I did ask the bank, like, what is this? This is horseshit. And they kind of explained it to me, and there was nothing I could do to reverse the charges, but I had to go through and change
The
my
way you were
settings in
paying
Venmo.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to pay people as like a personal payment. And then
Yeah,
also they have that weird thing where like when you, this is not the purpose of this show, but these are good examples. There's no purpose to this show anyways. It's money related. You know, when you go through and like request money from Venmo, it's free for them to transfer your own money back to you. But if you want it expedited and like immediate versus 1 to 3 days, there's a surcharge on that. So there's all this like convenience type stuff where I'm always like, no. But it's confusing because if you're not reading it and you're doing it too quick, you don't necessarily see it. Oh, I don't know what made me think of that, Erica, but how's the Amazon freeze going?
Oh, I haven't even thought of Amazon. I deleted the app.
That's impressive.
I know, and I appreciate your honesty
I broke it.
that
for
you
some-
you broke it. I'm
it
still
wasn't
going.
for stuff for me. It was for stuff for Kate for camp. And it was like, I really was just like, I could run around to 5 stores in Atlanta, or I could spend 5 minutes on Amazon and have these things here in 2 days.
I understand that. And that's part of the out of sight, out of mind of Amazon too. It's like paying for the convenience. It's just easy. It's like, let's just get this done, you know? So actually before the show, I was going to take all my subscribe and save items. I started to and make a list to show like, cause it's out of sight, out of mind for me. I just know that it comes monthly. I adjust it as needed. I was going to take it and compare it to Target to see if actually I could find better deals somewhere else. And I was a little disappointed that the whole point of Amazon is that it is cheaper, but it did make me think like, do I need these things in my subscribe and save? It made me think a little more of like, maybe I don't need this as like a regular monthly item.
Yeah. Maybe you don't need 5 pounds of gummy bears delivered monthly on subscribe and save.
No, that's not a monthly thing. That was a treat yourself thing.
This is personal finance. I should not judge your spending decisions, Erica. You're not judging my spending decisions of braces.
Yeah.
Except you are. But
You
whatever.
got braces. I got gummy bears. So, I mean, I call it even.
Deal's a deal.
Deal's a deal.
Y'all don't have the pleasure of seeing the face I keep making to Erica where I like
The
put my
face that
lips-
she's making would be like if she were 12 and had to take a school photo for her class photo with
Yeah.
braces. That's what it would look like. I'm
I'll put-
picturing choppy bangs.
turtleneck. I was rocking a turtleneck in a lot of my school photos for some reason for many years.
Yeah.
Like the same turtleneck. Like
I had a
menopause
lot of
heart.
mock turtlenecks and they had like winter scenes on them. I don't know who let
I
me
can
wear that out of the house.
Totally picture you wearing that, Erica. Okay, what are some other like out of sight, out of mind things?
So I think one of the bigger out of sight, out of mind items or item areas is things that are related to home and home expenses like insurance, car insurance, home insurance, things like utilities.
Mm-hmm.
Things that we just know that we pay, you get a discount if you pay in advance. So
Mhm.
you pay it and you just get your bill and it's taken care of and you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess that happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I think is so interesting about those is that there's a whole school of personal finance people who really harp on and focus on like people's daily Starbucks habit. And, you know, this $5 a day adds up. And if you were to not do that and, you know, spend it elsewhere, or sorry, save it and invest it elsewhere, you could be a millionaire and just quit drinking Starbucks and you'll be fine. And look, I don't know what some people's Starbucks habit costs them, but I am of a kind of middle ground school of thought. I'm like, that might be the thing you really enjoy spending money on, and it's intentional and you can afford it and you like it. It makes you happy and whatever else. And so, yes, those little things can add up, but I agree with you. It's often the big things that can be particularly out of sight, out of mind, because like homeowners insurance is a great one. So the majority of people's homeowners insurance that have a mortgage, which is the majority of people, because a minority of people have paid off their house. Most people's homeowners insurance is paid through their escrow, through their mortgage, in escrow through their mortgage company. And so it's truly out of sight, out of mind. Like you got it once when you bought a house, and maybe you've been on top of it and you've shopped around and you've thought about your deductible and things like that. But most likely you're paying thousands of dollars a year, way more than your Starbucks habit, and you don't really know what you're paying for anymore. And so and again, car insurance, homeowners insurance, life insurance, some home services like pest control, yard maintenance, you know, house cleaner, stuff like that can add up. And I think going, and again, when they're automated, when you've been paying them for years, like stopping and thinking like, hey, is there something better I could be doing here? Like, when was the last time I shopped around my insurance? And you might already have the best rate, but double check and make sure. And it often can be a fairly quick exercise to do some shopping around. There's a lot of great sites now that will actually help you shop insurance across tons of sites all at once.
Yeah, I think that's like, we had a situation with car insurance where we ended up having a claim that wasn't handled. It was handled poorly with our car insurance company. And so because we were on the lookout for another one, the landlord started talking to some colleagues and they were like, oh yeah, here's this other insurance company named Amica, which we had never heard of. And they're like, oh yeah, I use that. And it's like, everybody's using this new insurance company that we've never used. So we switched our home insurance to them. They have better rates. They're very like user friendly. And there are all these little things that like, maybe from the last time that you got your car or homeowner's insurance or any sort of insurance, there are more options out there that you're not even aware of. And that's where it really does come down to like, take time, like create some time for yourself to go back and kind of check out whether you do have the best deal. You're getting more bang for your buck with what you're paying for. You know, you could be with a lot of these home services, you're paying a lot of money for the just in case.
Yeah.
So, you know, there might be some balance of like, well, what can you get out of that as well, you know, in the interim?
Yeah, I think that's a great example. I heard of Amica through somebody else too. And they're not like a massively like old school, well-known insurance company, but they're probably like a lot of the old school insurance companies kind of suck and have some issues. And so I'm, you know, very open to the idea of new companies that are innovators and game changers in the space. And so, yeah, it is worth shopping these things around. And again, you never know. And it might actually be with your own company. So a while ago, Greg and I changed our homeowners insurance to the highest deductible possible. And I remember having a whole discussion with Mike, former co-host of Friends on Fire, about this. And I was asking him like what he would do with his deductible and like how high he'd be willing to go. Because the highest you can go on your house is like, I want to say $5,000 or $10,000. It's higher than you can go on your car. And he was like, when was the last time you had a homeowner's insurance claim? And I was like, well, I've never had one. So I've been paying homeowners insurance for 20 plus years now. I've never had a claim and I've always had a reasonable deductible. And it's like the odds of me making a claim specifically against my homeowners insurance are fairly low. Because even if there's something small that happens, I don't want to make a claim because it's going to increase my rates. I'm only going to make a claim for something like big and catastrophic, you know? And if you can afford the deductible, if you have enough of an emergency savings saved up that the deductible is not going to like put you out on the street, then it often is a good idea to have a very high deductible on your insurance. Because again, insurance is a product. They're making money off you. They're trying to charge you as much as you can and hope that you never have a claim. And on many of these things, you rarely ever have a claim.
Yeah.
Right. And so my point is more, it's not even about switching companies. There could be a better rate with another company, but you could also just adjust some of your amounts of coverage and deductibles and end up saving hundreds of dollars.
That's a really good point. And that's something the landlord and I always kind of see differently on, because I'm always kind of, not that I catastrophize things. Like I'm always like, well, what if, you know, with like health insurance or life insurance, things like that, of like, I just want to be prepared for that. But you're right. Like it's Vegas odds, you know, whatever those mean. And
there's a middle ground of being prepared, because to me, there's, again, thinking about how I always think about, I'm like, you know, how much are you paying every year in insurance? And I often think, we just lowered something on our car insurance. I think we took like the rental coverage car rental coverage off of both of our cars that would provide a rental car if we got in a wreck. Cause we were like, well, we have two cars. We really only need one car. We could get by with one car. And I was like, so if someone got in a wreck and it put their car in the shop, we would just get by with one car for a while. And the amount of money we saved doing that, you add up and you're like, well, in 1 year, it gives me enough that if I had to get a rental car, like there's my rental car fund, right?
Or borrow a car from a friend.
Or we just get by on one car for a while, which we totally could do. And so it's...
Or ride your bicycle.
I could ride my bicycle too, with my braces. I don't want to mess my braces up though if I get an accident on my bicycle.
Oh yeah. You're going to need to wear a mouth guard.
I am. I'm going to have full on headgear. So one person said to me, they're like, oh, at least you don't have headgear. And I was like, oh, thanks.
You're like, nobody's had headgear since the 80s.
Way to put it in perspective. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good perspective.
Yeah, it was nice. I was right up there with the 12-year-old who looked at me like I had been like hit in the face with something. Okay, so how do we make this actionable?
So I think we can go back to, you know, just having like check-ins with the things
landlord?
that you don't, well, the landlord always, he checks in with me and I try to run away when he talks about expenses.
Try to find yourself a good landlord is actionable tip number one.
Yeah, actually, that kind of takes away some of the home expenses. Like you were like pest control, and I was like, he is my pest control. He's putting rat traps out in the back shed that he built, and
Nice.
yeah, things like that. So, get a good landlord. You don't have to marry your landlord, or you don't have to call your husband the landlord. These are all personal
Yeah.
choices. You also can. I think just it's a good thing to check in with yourself. The things that you kind of forget about, like this topic in general, as a podcast topic. But check in with your expenses and just think like, am I actually using this? Am I utilizing the things that I am paying for that I just know I'm paying for? I've factored into my monthly budget, but doesn't mean I have to live with them. And create time to cancel them if you don't truly think you'll use it. Because it's not like if you cancel something, it goes away forever. You still have the option
Yeah.
to get it back if you truly miss it.
Yes. That's a great way of thinking about a lot of these things, is that most of these decisions are not forever. Even the insurance things we're talking about, right? If you decide to up your deductible and then all of a sudden that's like stressing you out every day, go back and change it, right? See how it feels and see how quickly you forget that you even changed that deductible, right? Erica, I think another thing that is a helpful thing for some people might be to put a reminder on your calendar every 2 weeks or once a month to go look at whatever it is that you're using to track stuff. So whether it's just scanning your credit card statement and opening the app and just scrolling down through your recent expenses, or if you use something like Mint, or you need a budget, or Rocket Money, or one of those apps, just go and spend 5 to 10 minutes with yourself. It's more helpful if you sit there and do it with your partner also. But even if just one of you is doing that, then it doesn't let anything become out of sight, out of mind. Like the beautiful part of automation is it has allowed us to pay so many bills without having to physically do it each month, and we've got it all automated. The downside, like we discussed, is all of these expenses are out of sight, out of mind, and we can still reap the benefits of automation, but not have this stuff be out of sight, out of mind, and actually be a little bit more thoughtful and conscious about it, which is everything. I feel like all the episodes you and I do together lately, Erica, are on that like intentional, values-based, just not trying to like place judgment on anyone for what they're spending their money on, but just making sure you personally feel good about where your money is going. And it's a thoughtful decision, not an out of sight, out of mind decision, which can be dangerous.
Yeah, you're making a good point. And I've been trying to be conscientious about how we talk about being conscientious about money, and the fact that like we keep coming back to this topic. But I think really what it means is like we have, like, we're calling this personal finance. We have the things that we find valuable, and really like we are in control. All of us are in control of our own money. We are not at the whim of these streaming services or the bank fees. Like we can try to control things to make better choices for ourselves and our finances. And to your point about setting calendar reminders to go through and check your finances, I also highly recommend, because I do this, setting calendar reminders to cancel things.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, free streaming services for a month, apps that you get a year on. Sometimes like through my life insurance, I got like a free app for travel to help with jet lag. And I set a reminder, like, I want to cancel this before they bill me for it. And they'll let me know, but I don't want to depend on them because like we said, like they are counting on you for getting. So you can create a way to be in charge of that for yourself.
Do those reminders work for you? Like, do you see them and then
Yes.
Like, where do you set the reminder?
I will set it on my Google Calendar or through my Apple Watch. I'll just be like, hey Siri, please set a reminder. Okay. I say please and thank you to Siri, because when the AI revolution comes, I don't want them coming for me first. I want them to know I had some good home training with some please and thank yous.
Yeah. I agree.
So yeah, I set reminders kind of all over, but I try to just do them as calendar reminders because I need visuals, not like in notes or just reminders. I need to see like, oh, I am doing this on this day with an actual alert to do that.
Yeah. The reason I was asking is because I try to do that, and then somehow they end up in like a slew of reminders to take my vitamins and to swap the laundry that I never read. But I
added that to the list.
Look at
Let
that.
me know if you'd like to add a time or location.
Look at that location.
Well, we are officially being tracked.
Nice. Well, you've been nice to her, so it's okay.
Thank you.
One of the things I've been trying to do lately, or like stopping myself from doing lately, is like all those kind of free apps and free things get me like I'm doing a lot of travel credit card hacking, and with those will come like, oh, a year's free subscription to Walmart Plus, or a 3-month trial of Panera Sip Club. And then next thing I know, like I set a reminder, but I'm so behind on various to-do lists that I don't see it and I don't do it, and then I've been charged, and then it's just a hassle to like go back and even try to deal with customer service or just be annoyed at myself and pay it. I've actually quit lately I've quit even taking the free trials. I've just been like, you know what? I didn't need Walmart Plus before. If I'm not willing to pay for it, unless it's something I like really, really want. But for a while I was like, oh, it's free. Let's just sign up for it, Greg. And then we both were signing up for all this stupid crap. And we would then have just another thing we needed to remember to cancel. So it's kind of like I've been trying to take a more minimalist approach to some of these freebie offers on, do I truly need this thing? Or like, I think I'm on like a free trial of the Balance app right now.
I don't even know these things that you're talking about. I've never heard of the Sip Club. I don't know the Balance thing. So like, yeah, so that's why I
Panera
find
Sip
this
Club?
really
You get
interesting.
free drinks at
We have
Panera?
like one Panera out in
Oh.
the suburbs here. I don't even know where Panera
Yeah.
is here, but I it's interesting because I will see those things and I'm like, if I didn't know, like you said, if I didn't know this existed before, it's not going to be something that I'm like, oh my gosh, this
Yeah.
is the thing that's going to make my life better. And also, like you said, like I'm going to forget to cancel it and it's going to be one more thing.
Yeah, I've been caught in this trap lately. This conversation is motivating me to get out of it. So, okay, I think we hit some actionable things somewhere in there. Hopefully you picked up what we were putting down.
I think what it comes down to, again, like what we keep talking about, is like being mindful of whether whatever you're getting is adding value to your life. Like, for example, I love TV. I love watching TV. This does add value to my life. However, I did cut cable like some years ago, and that was my compromise. So these are some things and trade-offs that you make. But a lot of these things that you have is like set it and forget it. It's there to kind of take advantage of you forgetting it. That's where the mindfulness comes in around this.
And I think we discussed like some healthy paranoia in an early episode of like, remember, they're marketing. Marketers
Yes.
are trying to get more money from you. Their goal is to get more money from you. My goal is to give them less money because I know this stuff long term does not add significant value to my life. Some things do, but many things don't. And I'm trying to be much more conscious, which I know, Erica, we were both saying some version of like, we keep talking about the same things, but I actually think it's important because it's relevant to both of us at this stage in our lives, because this is what we're both struggling with financially in many ways. Like we've done a lot of the foundational things we need to do. Like we're putting enough in our 401ks, or I was when I had a job. You're doing great. You're maxing out your 401k, Erica. That's great.
Thank you.
We recently rolled over Erica's 401k. I say we because we did it together on a video call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're very codependent.
And then I like started recording it and was like, oh, this could be a good episode, but I don't know. The first 5 minutes are always missed. And that was like the best part. Anyways, we've done a lot of the foundational things. And I think what we both struggle with is a strong word, because I think it's less of a struggle and more of we would like to be better, because I think we both have similar ideals of wanting to be very intentional and thoughtful with the things we bring into our life for environmental reasons, for financial reasons, and for setting the right example for our kids, for the amount of stuff we have in our house, for, a bunch of different reasons. And so I think for us, we are having the same conversation many different ways and across many different angles and layers, because it's not a just one-time conversation. It's a frequent one. And it's an ongoing one. And like on the note of like making it actionable, I truly think listening to podcasts like this help to keep stuff like this more top of mind. So I encourage you, we talked about this in the very first Inside Out Money episode around the fresh start effect of one of the things you can do is commit to listen to this podcast every week, or a different financial podcast if you prefer that one. But listening to other people talking about money can really help you on your own financial, more intentional, value-based spending types of goals.
Yeah, it's a good support system for us to have this with each other too, because we are like-minded in this. And so it's a good positive role model in seeing how you're spending or not spending things. Or, this was like, I don't know that I would have said, let me take a month off of Amazon spending. And now I'm like, well, so far it's been really easy, and let's see how long I can go with this. I'm sure something will come up, but
yeah. And you suggested that and beat me at it. I mean, not that it's I guess it is a competition actually, but
it is,
you're
yeah.
doing better than I am. I did not delete the app. I was not comfortable to go that far. That felt like a big move.
I felt like I needed to do that to truly commit myself, because that in that way it was like an out of sight, out of mind. That's another thing. When you have these apps there, actually, this is a really great thing.
Yeah.
When you have apps on your phone, like, oh, I need to look something up. I was going to get an REI, like the 20% off sale such a big deal, but it seems to happen like 4 times a year now. And they're like, download the app. Like, oh, well, I think I will. And then I had the app and it was there. I'm like, well, what else is going on at REI? And I was like, no, this is silly. So when I deleted Amazon, I also deleted REI and went through and deleted like any other things that were convenient shopping apps.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to do. And again, I've not gone as far as to do that, but probably couldn't hurt me to.
You might have a little more self-control in that area than I do because it's like a boredom thing, you know, and I'm
Mhm.
also trying to spend less time on my phone. So I'm trying to have fewer things on my phone
Yeah.
that make me there. And also like, hey, I'm paying for the New York Times crossword app. Why don't I use it? I've deleted everything else.
Yeah.
Maybe we should pick up the
Oh, we need to get back on our minis. Except right now I'm doing Wordle and Waffle every day.
yeah, I'm doing Wordle. I don't know what that is.
My kids bring this stuff to me. Waffle is like, it's like a waffle shaped Wordle. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's like
like
bingo.
four- No, it's like
Bingo
four.
Wordle?
It's like 4 or 5 Wordles in the shape of a waffle. So there's a bunch of words that you're trying to solve for, but they give you all the letters and they give you the colors of what is in the right spot or what's in the right row but the wrong spot, and then you have to move all the letters around to shuffle to make like 6 words.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
And then there's also the one that's Wordle with numbers. God,
I'm
what is
out.
that called? Oh my god, it's
You lost
so
me at
good.
numbers.
No, it's so good. Hold on, I haven't been doing it in a while. Oh, it's called Nerdle. I'll put these in the show notes because they're actually, I don't know how we got on this topic. These are all free, so let's be clear there. Unless you
Yeah.
do the subscribed version with New York Times, which is only for the particularly wealthy. I've just never been there, Erica.
Yeah.
So we'll do links to Waffle, Nerdle, and Wordle because they're all awesome. And I know you don't love numbers, but you really might. You should see if the landlord likes Nerdle.
the landlord would like it.
Give
He
it
would
to him for
probably like it.
Father's Day. Be like, hey, I didn't spend anything on your Father's Day present, but I sent you a link to the best new game you're going to love.
Oh yeah, that would be the perfect Father's Day gift for him.
Mm-hmm. What are you going to get him for Father's Day, by the way?
Well, I could say it because he's not going to listen to this
Well,
podcast.
this will air after Father's Day too, so you're fine.
Right. And so he started buying like what he calls party shirts, like
Mhm.
fun shirts to wear to work instead of just like boring work shirts. And when we were in Mexico City with friends, they were all like, oh, party shirts. And so I got him a party shirt for Father's Day. And I realized this is going to be like what the kids and I pick out for him for all his gifts is like fun print shirts. This one's a little less print like and more like, he can wear it to work. But
What's the print? Like, what's on the shirt?
I'll have to send a picture. It's actually not that good. There was one with like bananas, and I was like, "This is a bit much." This was like taking it down a notch. But
Okay, I want to see it. Greg has a shirt with bananas on it that I always try to get him to wear, and he's always like, "It's too much." And I was like, "You can never have enough bananas. It's
send
not
it
too
to the
much."
landlord.
I don't know if it'll fit him.
Yeah, that's true. They aren't really
Picture him being like maybe
Same
a
shape.
size up. What
maybe
size shirt does he wear?
medium.
Greg wears a medium too. A schmedium
A
sometimes.
schmedium. What'd you get for Greg? Another banana shirt?
No, but now I have a second confession to make.
You got it on Amazon.
I bought it on Amazon, but here's the thing, Erica. Kirsten and Julian from Rich and Regular posted a book, and it was Ryan Holiday, who I really like, The Daily Stoic, and it was like a dad version of The Daily Stoic. And I was like, oh, this is Greg and I have just been talking about parenting and just like wanting to be the best parents we can be, but not always being. And I was like, this is something that it's like a daily thing you read. I don't know if you know how The Daily Stoic is, but it's called The Daily Dad. And it's like a daily parenting advice and philosophy from Ryan Holiday, who's like a famous Stoicism author. It says 366 meditations on parenting, love, and raising great kids. And I was just like, oh, I really have not. The last time I bought a physical book has been like a long time. And I was like, it's $18. I would like to buy it for Greg. And so here's the thing. I buy it for Greg. Then this dude, I got all this stuff coming for Kate for camp that I bought. That was the like confession I made to you. After that, this is why like having rules are important. Because once I broke it for camp, I was like, fuck it. Let's go off the deep end. Let's buy this $18 book. Actually, you know what? I think I used my Amazon credits. Does that count? Didn't cost me.
Yeah, you still did stuff.
You're right.
It's okay. I say I'm looking this book up on Powell's for you.
Oh, thank you. Well, so I ordered
no,
the
it
book.
doesn't matter because you already bought
I know,
it.
I already bought it. And guess what? It already arrived. So I ordered the book and I was like, we don't usually do like gifts for these holidays, but I was like, it's a really nice, like inexpensive, thoughtful gift. And I think it's something we'll both read in bed together at night and enjoy it and get a lot out of it for the next year. So, and I was like, and it'll be a nice little surprise for Greg on Father's Day, which is 2 days away. So he just tells me, he's like, oh, I thought that was like Kate's camp stuff. I was opening it for you. I was trying to be helpful. And then he was like, I think that's your package. You probably didn't want me to see it. I didn't see it. And I was like, God dang it, Craig. Like, why are you opening stuff? And then I reminded him it's a federal crime to open other people's mail. And I was like, this is ridiculous, dude.
But I think Amazon packages are immune because everyone just like digs into it.
Yeah.
Like we'll get our neighbors and like we'll open each other's on accident. Well, he'll like it no matter what. But here's the thing. When I buy gifts for the landlord, I've really been trying hard not to buy them from Amazon because I feel like that's the easy button. And I'm not judging you.
You are are, and it is. Thank you.
I've been so I also, in addition to the party shirt, I had the kids decorate picture frames that we're putting their baseball and softball photos in. So
Oh,
I've been
that's
trying
cute.
to be more like in the like thoughtfulness and mindfulness of like trying to be more thoughtful with gifts that aren't the easy button. We put some effort in, we put some
Yeah.
thought into. And sometimes, and I say it because we're here. So like if I were sending you a gift and it was like a book or something, because I know we've done this to each other, it's so much easier to do the easy button. Like I'm not going to buy it online, send it to myself, and then put it
Yeah.
in the mail and also pay for shipping to you. So that's when it's like, yeah, that's totally fine. We don't live in the same state.
That's why I often, I agree. That's why the cost of shipping is ridiculous now. And like the free shipping is half the benefit of buying things from Amazon and other places.
Yes, that to me is a worthwhile easy button.
Okay, well,
But
I
we
owe
have
you
gotten
gummy
off
bears.
topic. Yeah.
Speaking of gummy bears, I now
and-
have to make another Amazon purchase, which is sending you gummy bears. And I
no.
already know what kind you like, the Albanese brand, right?
Yes, you're right.
Mhm.
I'm glad you know that. No, instead, I want pictures of Kate at camp because the camp she
Oh.
went to is the one I went to.
Yes. And where you met one of our friends. And
Where I
yeah.
met one of our friends. Yep.
So
That's
that's why it was like an okay loophole, because I was buying stuff for Kate to go to your camp, and then I was buying a book for Greg, who is a dad, and I don't know, these are all seem like legitimate loopholes.
Yeah. I can't even imagine where my parents got things for camp when I had to go because there was no Amazon.
Yeah, I mean they had to
They had to like go to stores and stuff.
they had to go to Service Merchandise. You remember that place?
And yes,
the
and Drug
conveyor belt that
Emporium.
would Drug Emporium at
Yes.
Toco Hills. I forgot
Yes.
about Drug Emporium. That's where Publix is now. Wow, Drug Emporium was like the Target of the 80s,
Oh man, that place was
but not
amazing.
as good as Target.
But it still like gave me all the
can
feels
still-
of walking into a Target.
It did. I can still remember right when you walked in is when they had all
Yep.
the sample size stuff, and that to me was
Uh-huh.
like the dollar spot at Target. Wow, I wish we could like go back in time and like I can remember. I have like such spotty memories of certain things from childhood, but like I can remember going to Toco Hills, which is the shopping center that's still around the corner from where I live now, and going to Drug Emporium. My dad would always let me go there with him, and I loved it. It was like
Yeah.
going to Target,
Yeah.
and
I used to go with my mom and it was like, ooh, yeah, Linda, let's get in this place.
I like that you call your mom Linda. Okay, I think we should bring it home. This is a good
Let's do it.
discussion.
Yeah, we certainly got off topic.
We might have. Okay. Well, either way, like I said, I enjoyed these discussions with you, Erica. And if
Same.
other people enjoy them, then, even better. But if not, the two of us enjoy it. And thank you guys for listening. We know your time is limited and valuable. If you've made it this far, we appreciate you spending your time with us today. Wait, your time. Yeah, with us. Exactly. You spent time with us, right? Not vice versa. Just checking.
Well, I mean, we'd like to be with you, but
I feel like we spent time with you.
yeah.
If you enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you would give us a written review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And we always appreciate that.
We also encourage you to share this episode with a friend or a family member to encourage ongoing discussions about money. And you can subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you have thoughts or questions, we'd really love to hear from you, even if you want us to like truly stay within the 40-minute time frame that Maggie
Mhm.
sets out at the beginning of these episodes that we have yet to achieve. But you can leave a voicemail, text us at 404-981-3370, or we are on Instagram.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm still just making awkward faces with my braces. I'll be on this Zoom for a while if you want to just leave me here.
Yeah, I think I might have to leave you here. You're gonna have to work on getting used to your mouth braces.
Yeah, I'm working on my new smile. I like how you call them mouth braces. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm excited for our next topic too, which I'm not going to say what it is, but we know what it is.
Yes.
And we'll just leave you with a tease that is not even a tease because we're not giving you any information, and say goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye everyone. Goodbye, Maggie.
Bye, Erica.
Round and round and round and round and round.